are the Daily Tech headlines for Monday, July 15th, 2024. I'm Sarah Lane. The Wall Street Journal sources say Alphabet is in advanced talks to acquire cybersecurity startup Wiz for roughly $23 billion. This would be the Google parent company's largest acquisition ever and could help advance its secure cloud computing efforts. Wiz was founded back in 2020 and says it hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue in its first 18 months, hitting $350 million in annual recurring revenue in 2023. The founders sold their first startup, Adalom, to Microsoft back in 2015 for $320 million. Apple has approved the PC emulator app UTM SE after initially rejecting it several weeks ago. It's now available for free for iOS, iPadOS, and visionOS. UTM SE describes itself as a PC emulator that lets you run classic software and old-school games. It's built from QEMU. That's a widely used emulator already. In some other Apple news, sales are up in India. According to Bloomberg sources, Apple's revenue in India increased 33% in the last year, ending in March, going from $6 billion in revenue to $8 billion. In India, iPhones are still a pretty big minority, only 3.5% market share. However, 14% of all iPhones are now made in India. In China, Apple generated more than $68 billion over the last 4 quarters, even after market slowdowns, so India certainly has room to grow. U.S. telecom AT&T disclosed Friday that attackers had stolen the call records for tens of millions of its customers. According to a Wired report on Sunday, AT&T paid an attacker around $370,000 to delete that customer data, in a deal reportedly negotiated through an intermediary called Reddington, acting on behalf of a member of the Shiny Hunters attacker group. Wired says the attacker provided a video to prove that they indeed had deleted that data. The attacker originally asked for $1 million before AT&T talked them down to the amount that they settled on, which it paid on May 17th in Bitcoin. Reddington, who was also paid by AT&T for the negotiation, says they believe the only complete copy of the data had indeed been deleted after AT&T paid the ransom, but that it's possible excerpts are still out in the wild. While the growth of EV sales has slowed, it's still on the rise. Market research firm RowMotion says global EV sales rose 30% year over year in June. The rise was driven mostly by a 25% increase in sales in China. U.S. and Canada EV sales were up 6%. However, sales for EVs fell in Europe by 7% after the imposition of a 37.6% tariff on Chinese EV imports. HP unveiled 3 new PCs from its Omni lineup. The OmniBook Ultra is a 14-inch laptop powered by an AMD Ryzen AI 300 processor and has up to 55 TOPS of NPU performance, notably also one of the first Copilot Plus PCs powered by a non-ARM processor. A 9-megapixel camera also uses Windows Studio Effects and the Poly Camera Pro app. It's expected to ship in August with a starting price of $1,450. The other 2 are the Omni Studio X27 and Omni Studio X31.5, both all-in-one PCs powered by up to an Intel Core Ultra 7 and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4050. Both have a starting price of $1,150, also expected in August. The European Union's AI Act goes into effect August 1st, with everything expected to be totally in effect by mid-2026. The act categorizes developers by the riskiness of what they're creating. Low-risk uses, not a lot of regulations. But the highest risk uses are prohibited. That includes using models or algorithms for things like credit scoring, facial recognition databases, and remote biometrics for law enforcement, except with certain exceptions. Risky uses that aren't prohibited, such as employment, education, and critical infrastructure, still have strict data quality and anti-bias requirements. All developers face new transparency requirements going forward. Finally, back in 2018, Bleeping Computer and others noted that Signal's desktop app stored the encryption key for its database in plain text on the desktop. Signal said, in response, it provides end-to-end encryption, not encryption at rest, the latter of which would mean no app can truly protect a user's data at rest if the machine has been compromised. Recently, both Elon Musk and mobile security researchers Talal Hajbakri and Tommy Misk of Misk Inc. says this is a vulnerability. Now, Signal has decided to adopt independent researcher Tom Plant's mitigation that uses Electron's Safe Storage API. That uses the platform APIs like DP API on Windows, Wallet on Linux, and Keychain on Mac OS, instead of creating a key stored in plain text. For more discussion of the tech news of the day, you know what to do. Subscribe to dailytechnewsshow.com. This is where you can find show notes and links to all these headlines there as well. I'm Sarah Lane. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.